Muy buenos días a todas y
Good morning to all
esperamos que se encuentren
and
muy
to
bien.
Otis. I hope you're doing really
Un día
well.
muy especial porque
Today
estamos
it's a
iniciando
very
clases
special
de
day because we start
módulo
the
5
classes of Module
con la
5
profesora Ángela
with
Santamaría.
teacher Angela
Hemos visto
Santamaria. I know that we have
en
seen
esta
her in these past
acompañarnos,
few days
pero
accompanying
vamos a
us,
hacer una
but we are
presentación
going to do a
de
presentation
su trayectoria.
of her and her
La
trajectory.
profesora Ángela Santamaría,
Teacher Angela Santamaria
profesora titular de la Universidad
is
del Rosario,
a main teacher of the Rosario
directora del Centro de
University
Estudios
of Conflicts
Culturales
and Peace, and
y
she's a director of the
del
Intercultural
Diploma
Studies
Indígena de la
and
misma
of the
universidad.
Indigenous Diplomacy
Es
course
doctora
as well at the
honoris
university.
causa
She's also a doctor in
de
sociology
una universidad en París
of a university in Paris. She's a teacher
de
in
la Universidad
philosophy
Javeriana de Bogotá y
from
es
the
abogada
Javeriana
del
University of Bogota, and
Externado en
she's a
Colombia.
loyal
Ella
from the External University in Colombia. She did
estudió
her
3 de febrero en
studies
Buenos
in the
Aires,
three
Argentina, con el profesor Daniel Márquez.
February 3rd
Sus áreas de interés son la
university in
paz,
Argentina. Her main
mujeres
areas of
y
interest are
procesos de resistencia
peace
internacional
dialogues,
de
dialogue
países
of knowledge,
atravesados por
peace building
desigualdades.
processes led by Indigenous
Durante los
women.
últimos 6 años
And during the
se ha
last
centrado
6
en
years,
acompañar
she
procesos de
has centered
reconciliación
in accompanying research
internacional
processes
relacionadas
for
con el Estado de Colombia contra mujeres indígenas,
intercultural
y está
research processes against
formada como terapeuta
studying women
mental y dedicada
violence
como
in the
investigadora
arm and sexual
colaboradora
violence
en
against
temas
Indigenous
de
women in the armed
a mujeres.
conflicts in Colombia,
En
and is
esta
studying the
presentación
trauma associated
damos
with
la
trauma
bienvenida a la
against
profesora Ángela
that comes from violence against
y
Indigenous
yo
women. And with that, we
en
welcome our
particular
teacher to
al
this
módulo 5,
course, and in particular to the module
que se llama
number 5, which is
Aplicando
called
el enfoque de la
Applying
metodología
the
intercultural en
Focus
procesos de
of
investigación
Intercultural
para
Methodology in the Process of Research for Indigenous Women.
Thank you, Dunen, and how are you, everybody? Welcome to this incredible module. Today, I want to share with the participants the presentation of one of the most interesting students at the university. She's Leslie Xiomara Pico. And she's working with an interesting tool, body mapping, and how we can use this methodology in our projects. Leslie, welcome, and we will hear Leslie. And think, I want to ask you to think about your individual projects, because perhaps for the participants is an interesting tool to introduce. Welcome, Leslie.
Hola, buenos días para todos y para
Hello,
todas.
welcome to all.
Bueno, como muy bien lo mencionó
Well,
Ángela, mi nombre es
as
Leslie.
teacher Angela said, my name is Leslie.
Soy estudiante de Ciencia
I am
Política en la Universidad del
I'm a
Rosario.
student of a political science at the University of Rosario, and I am a research assistant in the Intercultural Research Center
Entonces, para dar como apertura a este
for
ciclo,
Indigenous communities, and to
a este
open
nuevo
this
ciclo, este nuevo
space and this new
módulo,
cycle and this new module,
quisiera iniciar
I
con
would like to
uno de los
start
poemas de mi autoría,
with one of a
basado
poem
en
of mine that I
unas
wrote
charlas acerca de la
that
sexualidad
was written
en las comunidades
within the
indígenas,
framework of
específicamente
a
en la mía, soy del pueblo Ubi.
within the work framework
Ya
of
que
some
están
sexuality
presentando
talks
aquí
that were made in my
entonces, vamos a
community
iniciar
in the
con
center of
el
Santander and
poema
Arauca.
Wiwina,
And the poem
que
is
quiere
called
decir
Wiwina,
mujer en mi lengua materna.
which means
Y dice
woman in
así,
my language. And it says the following.
padre y madre, Cira
Mother
y
and
reina,
father,
armoniosa y hermosa ha sido su
harmonious and
creación
beautiful
y
has been your
preciosa.
creation.
Cira y reiría, padre creador
Sire
y madre
Rairia,
protectora.
creating Father
Escucha
and
nuestro
protecting
llanto
Mother,
como
please hear
gritos,
us, hear our
mujeres
cry as
que han
now,
tomado la
women
palabra
that
dulce
have
para
taken
enseñar,
the sweet word to
decir y
teach,
mantener
strengthen,
lo que
and maintain what with love and commitment you have left us. We are brave and capable, strength like Sisumas, diligent like the rivers and creeks, like our hills and mountains. O woman, powerful and wise, sing, speak, express, and paint what with love and commitment mother and father have left to your judgment. That is a poem that is very important.
Nuestro conocimiento como
It's very
mujeres.
important in our culture and in our knowledge as Indigenous women, where we highlight not only the strength and the bravery that you can have in our soul, in our heart, in our uterus, in our mind. I would like to also share an image that I made to present what I have drafted, what I have done to present to you my work. Well, as a teacher mentioned, the work that I've done is on cartography, taking into consideration the drawing of our bodies with the women of my community in the development of the access of leadership that we can represent from that perspective and the connection that we might have with our bodies and the territory. That is so important. Okay, it's sharing now. So to begin with, this is myself. This is me. I made this drawing in the activity and the classes alongside with teacher Angela, where we represent my body, but my body is also part of the territory. My breasts are the mountains, where the flora is my uterus as the giver of life, and the blood is part from our cosmovision, is oil, being this the blood of Mother Earth. So also this conflict that happens where there's this extractivism, this lack of balance, and how it affects us women in the territory. Also making reference to wisdom and the word that represent the letters in my arms and my hips, and the words that we can bring to the children of our community as brave and wise women that we are. Our mind, our head, from the territory we reference a very important rite, which is kokora, which is this leaf or this hat, however you want to call it, that it's this cycle where girls become women with their first period, and it's the importance, and it's revealing and imperative for all girls in our territory.
También esta conexión que tenemos con nuestra madre tierra, llevando así
So it's also this connection that we have with Mother Earth, bringing wisdom, knowledge, animals. We see a few animals here, making reference also that being Mother Earth, that are, and this great aspect of animals that are our guardians as Mother Earth's children, and they take care of our mountains, of our rivers, of our hills, and that make part of our ecosystem as women who are givers of life. And not just talking about it from a maternal aspect, but also through giving birth, but also giving birth to projects, to knowledge, and that defense of Mother Earth. So basically the methodology, the body methodology of marrying these bodies leads to a process of healing and identification of the different processes especially in the lower part. There's a beautiful gathering that I did with in the picture that I did with the women of my community based on women leadership and how they can show the leadership through cartography, what they have been able to develop and what they would want to develop, because a lot of them are children from 13 to 18 years old. So it's to give way to understand the different methodologies that are intercultural, and how they establish a line of knowledge that is different to what we usually or academically we have seen reflected in the universities or in the schools. So this is also part of a connection between the mind, the heart, our uterus, and in consonance with taking care of what we're of our land. And so Cocoras is a connection that we do with Mother Earth to establish a free menstruation, so that there's a beautiful process about how women can develop their menstrual period in consonance with Mother Earth. So this is the methodology that I'm still working on. I'm very excited to be here sharing with you this methodology. Representing what our body is like in the territory.
Thank you, Leslie. Thank you very much. Well, now I want to share with the group I can share the slides. I think it's okay now. You can see my screen?
Now we can.
Okay. Leslie, no te
Sí.
explicamos lo de la interpretación. En la parte de abajo.
We didn't explain the interpretation, Leslie.
Dice interpretación en el Zoom para que si quieres puedas hacer el.
I'm just explaining the interpretation to Leslie.
I don't know why I can share.
Sí podemos ver tu pantalla, pero no la presentación.
No sé por qué. And I have been practiced 1 hour before the meeting. A ver qué pasa. Now it's okay?
Sí, señora.
Yes.
Ya.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to ask the participant if it's possible to open the camera. I don't care if you are walking, if you are eating, if you are taking a shower, it's not a problem. But I think it's really important to see your faces, no? And before to begin, I want to say whenever it's okay for you, you can open the mic and speak and do the comments. Yes, please. be participative in this session, because for me, I don't want to talk and talk and talk during 2 hours. Yes. And for example, I know the interpretation for the Spanish people is difficult, because it's not the same. And if you want ask some question, I can answer in Spanish, because I know it's not the same, no, the same experience to hear the talker in directly, even if the translators have a very incredible opportunity to translate, is difficult not to connect with the person. Well, here, this is the module number 5. Today is our first session. Today I want to talk a little about development of self-determination related to Indigenous women's in a cross-cultural perspective. Yes. I want to begin talking a little more about this methodology. It's an incredible methodology. We used this methodology with the team at the university. As you see, our team is an intercultural team. And is a very interesting tool to explore. I think I have been used this methodology during 20 years, and every day I think, wow, it's so powerful, no, to put in the center of the knowledge production the bodies, the movements, the gestures, the feelings of the participants, and our own feelings. Here, as Leslie showed in the first part, we have an example of the use of this methodology in peace studies in 3 specific countries, Thailand, India, and Kenya. And as we can see, here, for example, we can see a lot of colors, no, a lot of expressions, and this exercise of body mapping, body mapping, was used by a group of researchers, women researchers in India, Thailand, and Kenya, to work with survivors of HIV. Yes, to think how this group of survivors could and should take care of their bodies, and to dream and to hope and a better life experience. Another methodology I want to share today is the Indigenous Women's Circle. I think many of you know more than me about this methodology, but I think it's important, because in the last session, or I think before the last session, I think Samai asked how we can introduce our own methodologies in our projects. Yes. And I think this example should help us to think, how can I introduce and to do a dialogue between traditional methodologies of social science and traditional methodologies of Indigenous knowledge system. Here, I have this example of Indigenous Women's Circle. I have a small video to share after this slide, but I think this is an interesting example, because is the practice of the Aboriginal people from Canada but at the same time, it's a methodological cultural practice using by the institutions in this country. Yes, for example, this Indigenous Women's Circle was established in 2018 to engage with Indigenous women leaders and to work and to deal with experts, public experts and the academia, and to face the big challenges and the priorities of the Canadian government related to gender equality. For example, in this example, the Indigenous Women's Circle has a permanent members during 2 years a term, and each member brings their own knowledge related to 3 priorities areas. For example, increasing women's economic security, encouraging women's leadership and democratic participation, and ending and facing violence against women and girls. This is an interesting example because it's an intercultural Indigenous women's circle with the participation of First Nations from Canada, Métis people, Inuit, the youth is a really interesting methodology to work with youth, with Indigenous women who are dealing with perhaps they are shining or afraid to talk in public, and this is an interesting tool to feel the support and the contention of the group. And as we can see in this picture, is an ancestral methodology in this area of the world. I have a small video that I want to share with the group. Give me 1 minute, please. Because I have a new computer. I am so happy, but it's not easy to know everything about this computer. I buy this computer for this course because I am so excited to be here. It's an honor and a privilege to have the possibility to share these ideas. It's okay? Can you see the video?
Sí, ahí se ve.
Yes.
Okay. Opa, excuse me. It's a publicity. Okay.
We have so many cool, diverse people, different backgrounds.
Profe, para el sonido debes dejar de compartir y otra vez le das compartir pantalla y ahí te aparece la opción de compartir con sonido y ahí ya podemos escuchar el audio porque se escucha como
Student is just explaining how to share how she can share her audio in the computer. So our teacher is going to go ahead and do that shortly.
No, it's not working. This video is not working. I will try with this one. It's okay now?
Me mostraba cómo estaba yo rodeada con un grupo de mujeres. Lo comenté y me contaron, me dijeron, pero si eso se hacía en el mundo mapuche. Abrazamos nuestro corazón.
Somebody asked me if we did that in the Mapuche world, we hug our heart and then from our heart to Mother Earth. This is a new year where everything starts. We have to start in our mother and our friends in the South. We have to put in a prayer for them as well. And right now, those arms. And I got the idea of how we educate, how women in Mapuche women are educated, how we make food around the fire, which is the opportunity that women have to tell their stories, to teach each other, to teach the feminine protocol, to relate with the grandmothers, because grandmothers are in the kitchen. Everything in their time, everything has their way of doing things. And looking for support in other women. When we have doubts, go to other women, be able to talk to other women, and sit around the fire and speak. The circle of women helps women to find their own knowledge, and they realize that this is logical, that this is natural, and for them to be the new bearers of this knowledge that maybe a child from the originating communities can find useful, this knowledge of indigenous communities.
Well, here we have an example from Chile about Mapuche women. And perhaps, I don't know if somebody want to share if in your indigenous people's community, do you have some practice like this one? Someone want to share with the group? Daisy, do you want to share?
Sí, bueno, voy a decir yo.
Okay.
Aquí, pues, una de las
Here,
prácticas
one of the practices that we have in the Wayu culture in the Department of the Guajira that is similar to that is the circle of the word. And this practice is usually done so that we can tell our dreams, and we do it in the in the morning hours. And it's to see that what that message is that our ancestors are giving us through dreams. And the spaces where we make decisions as well. And usually it's led by the older women of the community.
Okay, gracias, Jenny Lynn, muchas gracias. Entonces ahí ya
Thank you, Jenny Lynn. So there, do you think that you would be able to see with the project that you are doing the possibility of including any practice of conversation to be able to, as you saw in the video, Majora was saying that it is completely viable to put in the center as a methodology the kitchen, the traditional kitchen, the fire pit, and the country, the peoples of where Jenny Lynn is coming from, women are great weavers. Can you imagine what practices of knowledge, of traditional knowledge, you would like to add into your research project for this course?
Sí, entre las prácticas estaría
Yes, amongst the practices, I would add what I was mentioning of the artisanal weaving, which is made by women to, especially to weave feelings and thoughts. And what I want to do is focus on indigenous women that usually would do this weaving with plastic bags, a little bit to also recover that technique. And another practice I want to use that I feel is very important is the Ashahawa and the Tunkawa, which are two practices. The Tunkawa, which is where we have that connection with the evening hours, which has been lost a lot. So I also want to reinforce that practice of the Atunkawa, which is translated as sleep. It's like sleeping, but it's an activity that's done at night time or early early morning hours, and that's when we do the circle of words, which is actually called Tunkawa.
Thank you, Jenny. I don't know if somebody else want to share, for example. It's a good opportunity, no, to share. Daisy? Hi, Daisy. How are you? Daisy, I can hear you. I can hear a little noise, but I don't know. I don't know. I think. Okay, okay. Oh, it's so painful. I can hear you. Perhaps you can use your body. Even if we can hear you, you can, for example, show to the group with your body what is your methodology. Okay, okay. Thank you, Daisy. I hope you will share with the group after your wonderful idea. Perhaps somebody else want to share with the group? No, not yet. Well, another kind of methodology could be, for example, dolls. Oh, wonderful. Go on, Daisy. Wow. Okay, so beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. This is an incredible methodology, I think, no? To use a necklace and the process to elaboration of necklace. I think music. I don't know if it is I am overacting, but I think you are moving your body and perhaps dancing, necklace and songs. Oh, it's a good idea, an incredible idea. Thank you, Daisy. And Vivian, I think Vivian, you have something to say? Or Nai? I don't remember. Vivian?
Era Nayekli.
Okay, Nai.
Uh-huh.
Nai, and after Nukila? Go on, Nai. I don't see Nai now. Well, we can go with Nukila. Nukila, welcome.
Hi, Angela. Thank you so much. No, I just have a question regarding the body, the example that you've shown us. I just want to ask you, was it relevant with the reflection of the suffering of the women on that drawing, or just a story? Yeah, because I have one community, indigenous community in Dayak, yeah, in East Kalimantan, and then they use like earring and tattoos,
Mm-hmm.
and they said it describes the stories of their journey from the babies until their age right now. So this also it shows their experience. So they explain every, like a symbol of the, like a flat or circle. That's the description of the, the journey. Yeah? Whether you have the challenge in your life, uh, happiness or something like that. But I just want to ask you whether the one that you research in India, in other two countries, is the drawing is a reflection of the stories or reflection of the suffering? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Nukila. I want to share with the group, in the Moodle, you have a guide, yes, for each session. Because for me and for our team, it was so difficult, to know how we can, for example, propose a workshop about this issue, no? Because we are working with the painful memories, as you said, and it's important to think, for example, step by step, the workshop. Can you see the my screen?
Yes.
Sí se puede ver. Sí.
Okay. Here, if you want, you can check the guide. Yes, in the guide, I develop a little more this methodology, and here I have another example. And for example, the first, I think is a very interesting methodology because it's really not an extractivist methodology, is not an intrusive methodology. Yes, it's a very carefully methodology. And I think the participant should choose, no? If she wants to go deeper, if she wants only participate and to express, for example, hope, or for example, some participants are in another step of the healing process. And for them is important, for example, to share the stories. No, here it was the same workshop, and we have 3 different experiences using the methodology. In the left side, we have Sonia, the experience of Sonia. She's from Inga peoples in the south of my country. And for example, for Sonia, it was an interesting space, a safe space to express her feeling as a Inga woman. No, I think in a perspective like, for example, Leslie. She talked about her uterus, her vagina, her canal, her heart, and she doesn't share with the group another kind of experience, no? And it was okay, because the center of this experience is the participant, no? No, my obsession with my question, no, my interest, but the center, this is a methodological perspective center in the participant, her needs, her possibilities, and she's the center of the methodology, no? In the middle, we can see another kind of experience. This is the body mapping of an elder, a very important elder from Amazonian people in Colombia. And for her, it was so important to speak, to tell, no, as a step, an important step for her healing process about her own experience of sexual violence. Yes, and we can see for her in the center of the, here we can see violation, sexual assault. Yes, she wrote, I am in danger. she put here, for example, a lot of red color and the blood. She talks about torture. For her, it was necessary. Yes, she decided to talk in this space about her experience, and it was okay for her. Yes, we need to think before, for example, to propose the workshop. It is important, I think, by my experience, to have the support, for example, of healers from the community, or if you have the possibility to invite, for example, an cultural psychologist, or the dialogue between psychology and indigenous women healers is so important, because sometimes we need the support, the psychological and the healing support of for the participants. Now it's good to think about it. And here, for example, we have the experience of Marta. Marta from Bastos people was talking about fertility, was talking about women ancestral memory in her community. Another experience. But perhaps when we are working about sexual trauma, it is important to think before why and how can I deal if somebody should have a crisis. Yes, because for many people this is the first time. This is the first time, for example, to think about my own body, to think about my sexual history, my resources, my needs, and it's important to prevent. I want in the guide, I want to show you some steps. It's not an imposition, it's only an idea. But I think it's important to think about the phases of the process, step by step. For example, for me, is helpful, no? Because for me, my own sexuality is to work about sexuality and to work about the restoration and reparation of sexuality is a personal healing process. And for me, the structure is important. No, I am safe with the structure. When I know how can I deal with the pain of my own pain and the pain of the participants, is helpful for me. Perhaps it's interesting to begin using, I don't know, corporal or dancing expression, as Daisy, for example, show with her body. After we can use, for example, exercise to connect with our body and the body of the group, and the group as a body. And as Leslie talks before, with the territory and the space we were working, no? After, for example, these first moments, no, of connection with bodies, with the support of the group, with the territory, we can invite the participants to paint, for example, or somebody, some women don't want to paint, and it's okay. Perhaps for there is important to, I want to think, I want to make a movement. Everything, it's okay. Yes. And we can, for example, think if we can share some papers and pens to to paint the silhouette and for example to place it is interesting to have a question in mind. No, it's not an imposed question, but to have an orientation. I think it's important to invite the participants. We will, I don't know, for example, and I'm thinking of this group of this group in particularly. We are thinking about our research purpose, our methodologies. No, perhaps it's important to ask some questions about how I am feeling my project of research, where in this body I am feeling this project. No, for me, for example, research in these topics is here. No, I think the elder Lorena was talking in her sessions about sentir, pensar, thinking, feeling, no? And I think this methodology is the possibility to think and to feel the questions, the objectives in the body. And it's a good opportunity to think and to feel at the same time, no? Because modernity and modern science have been dissociated, no? Between the feeling and the thinking, but the new perspective of sciences, open sciences, are so interesting because we can feel and think at the same time. No, it's not divided. It's like a continuum between the organs and the heart, the vagina, the stomach is a place to produce knowledge. After it's perhaps important to invite the participants to share voluntarily. Yes, we can't yes, to push somebody to talk about their experiences, but because talking is sometimes about these issues is a healing possibility for somebody and for others. No, yes, we can't push the people to talk. I don't know, Nukila, if I answer your question, or perhaps now it's more complicated.
Yeah, but thank you so much, Angela. It's come up with my another question, because the body is an integrity and personal, as you mentioned before, that it's so personal. They sometimes they don't want to do this drawing, and then this should be consensual, because they're the one, right, who decide whether they want to do the drawing or any other, media, like a dancing or other activities. But based on your experience, my question is how you approach, the woman wants to draw this. Yeah, it's very amazing for me, because I think it was not easy, right, Angela, to approach them, and then telling, drawing some like a vagina, and then the breast and the blood. Yeah, I saw the blood, and it's so interesting for me. This new for me as well. I'm really interested about this methodology. Yeah, but how to convince, yeah, because I don't know. Yeah, I will try to listen first.
No, I agree with you, because, for example, for men in all societies, I think it is easy to draw her bodies. No, I don't know in your country, but here when I am going to a public bathroom, I can see pennies everywhere. Yes, everybody paint pennies, but for us, it's like a taboo, no? it's like something I need to
Yeah,
hide.
yeah.
And for this reason, for example, I do this personal healing process with Noah. He's an incredible student. I think in other session I can invite him to hide in my necklace my organs. Yes. I don't know if I will be in a meeting with this necklace, but here I want to share with this group. I am in a safe space, no? Here I am in a safe space. And perhaps I think it's not an obligation, no? It's not a duty to push the people. For example, in these drawings, she was her idea, no? The orientation of the workshop was paint your body. Yes? What do you feel? What do you think about your body is okay? Yes? It was the only invitation, no? What happens if I am painting my body? Yeah, and for this elder, she was the possibility. But I agree with you. It's a very carefully work, and after in other sessions we are going to think about protocols of confidentiality, how we can take care as a researchers, because we have stories, no? We have stories, painful stories, and it's a very respectful work that I am proposing you, and I think it's important to talk, no, about I am scared, I am not, I don't agree with this idea. This is the opportunity to share. Nai, how are you?
I'm fine, teacher. How are you?
I'm fine. So happy to hear you.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm very glad that you shared a good methodology on how we can use the body to describe certain issues, even in our research. So I had a question. Most of the time, I work with pastoralist communities, and one of the key significance that I see in them is that they have a calendar. And in this calendar, it allocates different signification to different groups, like women activities, their gathering, every move of everyone in the communities, including even the children. So I thought, like, is someone can work in that modality, but not to leave behind what our intent is. For example, I write on the issues of land encroachment and eviction in the indigenous communities in Tanzania, the untold stories of it. So to relate this with the research that I'm doing in either a drawing, but just run through that calendar that I intend maybe to use. Can that be applied as one of the methodology, or how? Because one of the things that I get difficulties in it is how to reference it. Now to refer that this is what I did. So I'm getting some difficulty in that, yeah.
Okay, it's an excellent idea and a methodological tool. The calendar here in Colombia, I remember with Dunen, she was working about the menstruation. And do you remember, Dunen, with the midwife in Sierra Nevada, Santa Marta? And the calendars is a very good idea. Now I think the homework for the next session is to write, no? To write the methodology. And I think is a I want to tell in this it's like to do interviews, to do for example focus group is a good tool, and is the same that, for example, to paint calendars. Yes, in terms of social science, actually, you have the possibility using the knowledge, the dialogue between knowledge, different knowledge, and indigenous knowledge in particular, is legitimation. The legitimation of this practice are now possible. Yes, you don't need to be afraid. No, you can put in your project, I will to do 5 body painting with girls and women, and it's a valid, is a very good methodology. I want to implement 5 interviews. It's okay. Yes, it's not a, now I think the social science, and in particularly decolonized social sciences, don't establish a hierarchy, no? Between you are free now to propose what do you want to propose. Yes, in my university, I think Leslie knows, I teach about this methodology in PhD formation, and it's legitimate. You can do what do you want to do in terms of methodology. You are free, yes, and it's exciting to be free, no, to propose. For example, before Nanya shared with the group, I am obsessed with dolls, yes, and we are working with indigenous women from Sierra Nevada, Santa Marta, using the body not only in cartography or body painting, but you can do, for example, dolls. And this is a social science intercultural methodology so powerful, yes? Here, for example, we have one of the girls. She was murdered by armed actors in my country. And from Colombia, for example, here we have the elders of Guatemala. I think is the most incredible advocacy case in our region. And we can, for example, to work with girls, with children, to use the body, for example, in this sense. Here we have another guest. She's Mama Christine from Congo, yes, from Congo. Yes, she's the founder of City of Joy, a big city for survivors of genital female mutilation in Congo. And this is a methodology, yes? In PhD, the students are working with this kind of methodology, yes? And it is possible. You can do what do you want. Now the challenge is to write about these your ideas, and I think Lorena and we are here to help you to be free. Yes, to be free. You can do what do you want. Now, the conception of open science, actually, intercultural open science, everything is possible. Well, Anani, I am so sorry. I talk a lot. I am so sorry. Do you want to share, Ananya? Ananya. I think she's having a problem with the, no, with the internet. I don't know, Dunain, if you want to share your experience using calendars and body mapping with the women from your community.
Sí, claro que sí. Muchas
Of
gracias.
course, yes. Thank you for the invitation, Sister Angela.
Lo primero es
The first thing
hablar de
is
los conocimientos
to talk about the
del
knowledge
conocimiento
or
ancestral
the ancestral
femenino
knowledge,
al interior
feminine ancestral knowledge
de
from
mi
the
pueblo, del
interior
pueblo al
of my
que
town,
pertenezco,
who I
al
belong
Correa,
to.
porque es un
It's been a
pueblo
challenge because
que todo el
it is
tiempo
that town that all the time
nos está diciendo que
is
estos
telling
temas
us
son muy privados,
that those
que
topics are
no
very private,
son para estar,
that they are not
que
fully,
sean públicos,
they're
que
not
hay
to be
como
public,
mucho
and it's a
temor
lot of
y
fear.
entonces trabajar a través de estas
So to work
metodologías
through with this methodology,
de los diríamos conversatorios de
let's say
mujeres
these
hace
talks that we have with women
que el
allow us
conocimiento
to
sagrado
have
llegue a las
this
personas,
sacred knowledge
porque
is to the reach of everyone,
uno
because
cuando, y creo que eso también es bueno
I
hablarlo,
think that
cuando investiga
when you do the research,
compromiso
you have a
y
commitment,
sobre todo estos
and it is
conocimientos
that
femeninos,
this knowledge or this
todos
feminine
juntos,
knowledge
además que los conozcan las
will,
abuelas, los
and
conozcan
besides
las
having them
mamás,
known by the
los
elder,
conozcan las
it's also
madrinas,
for the
porque lo
youth
que
to
nos
know
ha
them and the girls
ocurrido
to know them.
es que
Because what happens
las
is that
abuelas van
the grandmothers,
pasando a otro
we're going to
plano
pass
y
on
ya las
this to another plane,
jóvenes, ya las
and then
mujeres
the
no
young
van
women and the girls
a
will not have
tomar estos
how to
temas
learn
importantes. Entonces,
this
esta
ideas and
metodología,
concepts.
en este
So this
caso,
methodology
a través
with
de la luna,
the phases
de
of the moon,
entender cómo el cuerpo de
of
la
understanding
mujer
how the human body,
se
the female body,
relaciona
is
y
related
danza con la
and
luna
allowed
a
to
través de
dance with the
dibujos,
moon
pues fue algo muy
through
bonito que además
drawings,
de tener un sentido comunitario, creo que
that besides
como mujeres indígenas
having another community knowledge
reafirma en
as
nuestra
indigenous
forma de
women,
vivir, porque
they
creo que
reaffirm
también
the life lessons,
siempre
because that
por eso es
also,
importante cuando hablan de la
and that is
sanación
why it's also
como
important when you
el
talk about
trabajo
healing,
intercultural, como estas
how the
metodologías
intercultural
pueden
research,
sanarnos
how this
y
methodologies
poder
allows
sanar
us to heal,
a las otras mujeres
but
de
also
nuestros pueblos.
to heal other
Por
women
lo
in our town.
tanto, em,
And that's why
en ese caso, yo cada día
in that case,
creo que comprometo mi vida con las
I commit my life
metodologías que
to
hay desde los conocimientos de las mujeres
with
indígenas,
the knowledge that I have with
la
indigenous women
tejeduría, desde la forma en que
in the from labor, how they do the menstruation,
manejo y uso de las
how they
plantas.
handle and the
Y
use
el reto es
of
como
their
seguir
plants. So
haciendo,
the challenge is
reconociendo
how
estos
do we continue recognizing this
conocimientos a
knowledge
través de
and
dibujos,
be
de
able to
fotografías que nos mostraba
through these
Leslie,
cards
unos
to
cuentos, como
singing
recogiendo, dando
and
cuenta,
gathering
recogiendo
and being
y
accountable when recognizing all this process.
esto es
It's fascinating.
fascinante,
It's a fascinating world
donde uno no para de
where
aprender.
you don't never stop learning.
Thank you, Dunain. Well, I will to continue with the. You can see my screen.
Sí.
Yes.
Mm. Okay, well, here I want to continue with some concepts, I think, in dialogue with these methodologies. Yes, because these methodologies could help us to, for example, work difficult concepts about legal instruments and definitions, no, indigenous peoples, sustainable self-determined development with, as Dunen said, with the girls, with the women, no, because many times they are excluded from political spaces and political information, and we can use this methodology to think with, for example, girls, elders. No, what is for you self-determination? No. And what is the tension between, for example, self-determination and sexual violence, no? Because many of the indigenous women, intellectuals, indigenous women today are talking about these tensions, no? Yes, self-determination, but what is the tension with the protection and the protection and the guarantee of sexual and reproductive rights in a perspective of indigenous women. To begin, this concept of self-determination is a legal concept in a definition in, for example, in our region, in the American Declaration of the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. We have this kind of conception or definition. And this concept means that indigenous peoples themselves will decide how economical, social, and cultural development should happen in their territories, including indigenous women voices and experiences, indigenous youth perspectives too, and in an intergenerational and intercultural sustainable development. No? I think here is an interesting possibility to how we can talk about self-determination and self-determined development, because when we are talking about indigenous people's sustainable self-determined development, we are talking about gender parity, intergenerational and intragenerational equity, and sustainability for indigenous peoples. No, I think this is the big challenge of this concept. No, it's not possible to talk about access to land, for example, if we are not talking in terms of gender parity of the access of indigenous women of land. No, I am thinking about the project, for example, of Nukila. This is an holistic concept and a holistic framework integrating human rights base, ecological and ecosystem-based knowledge, including the respect of indigenous people's rights, traditional knowledge, and at the same time, gender equality, intersectionality, and I think it's an interesting tool, a very important tool for indigenous women and for your projects to think about these concepts. Here we have the concept of good living, buen vivir or suma cansai. I think perhaps, I don't know if Samai could talk a little about this perspective. I think you are the appropriate person to talk. Samai, it's okay for you? Samai, no. Samai or Jessie.
Buenos días. Acá en México,
Good
como
morning. Here in Mexico, it's such a philosophy of good living, like in Ecuador and those places. Well, we don't have it as present with that name, but in the indigenous communities, it's very well known that the relation between us as indigenous peoples and life and nature has a very broad sense, because from our cosmovision we are not separated, but we are part of a whole, of a territory, of a cosmos. And we always try to bring to the center life and respect to nature, respect to our territories, to water, that we, for example, it's very common to see in international organizations how from their perspectives to refer to water, they refer to it as a resource or an economic resource, but if in our cases, water is a sacred element. It represents us the our own body, our own the blood from our own bodies, of mother blood from Mother Earth. So this is a philosophy that involves the right to life and nature and the respect to these elements, seeing them from their value. That's it mainly. Thank you. Jesse, you're not going to disconnect. How are you doing with the translation? Do you disconnect a lot? Because it's not in Spanish? Me? Yes. I understand what is being conveyed. Please don't disconnect because I see you're always very active. No. I'm listening your testimonies and all of it that you're sharing, the methodology and based on bodies. And I do think about it a lot because I haven't worked that methodology before. Sometimes I grab a notepad and I start drawing what you presented, and I had never seen that before. That is a methodology, but I had worked that like that before as something for myself, but now I know that it's something that I can work on with different women. I'm in that process of reflection of what working in this methodology implies. Because it's strong to talk about our body itself. It's something very delicate for many because of stereotypes and that we have everywhere about that they teach us about how a body needs to be, and sometimes we don't feel happy or comfortable. To be able to work a methodology that puts our bodies in the center is already a challenge, and to see how that is already linked to our life and our territory, I think it's something that's filled with learning, and it's wonderful because there's a lot of relationship. Sometimes we do suffer this violence and this physical violence or sexual violence, and when we translate it to this way of if we move it into our territory, we've also suffered extractivism. We've hurt the nature and our bodies, and to have this process of reflection, I think, is wonderful. And thank you so much for sharing, all of you, your experiences. Thank you to each and every one of you. Just that I'm worried that the Spanish speakers disconnect. So I'm going to be here on you. Thank you, Jessie.
Somebody else want to share? What are you feeling or thinking about this concept, Lorena? Mayora Lorena.
Primero, es en relación al buen vivir.
First, it's in relation to good living. In this case, Luclas Lemag is what we call in Maya Quiche, which is a life that is fulfilling, but that it transcends the life in this plane, but even before gestation, after gestation, in the birth and the growth, and in the transcendence of another dimension. We don't die, we have another dimension. And here it's not just establishing people or good living for people. And I think it differs from what the white person's knowledge is about, because it centers around people, around humans. But we center on Mother Earth, the cosmos, natural assets as resources to the service of humanity. But our good living is not about development, it's about life of the originary peoples. I would dare say the world's, because when you see that our life as originary peoples, it's to act in service of the life of everyone, all the beings that exist in this world, even the ones that are no longer with us in this plane. So when we talk about a fulfilling life or good living, it's the fulfilling life of water, of earth, of animals, of the seeds of their generations, and of people as well, not just of women or men, but also of humans. We also don't talk about men and women. We talk about winak, which is people, aside from their body or their gender, something that's much more in depth, and their relationship with water, with the wind, with fire, with the earth. That's what we refer to. And so it's something that it's an idea that looks for bringing forward the continuance of life, something that doesn't put in danger and jeopardy the future of animals, of minerals, of seeds, of plants, and people. And that is what we do in the collective as work, as an element of life, of all the elements, not just of the human person. And thank you. And everything that Angela is saying of methodology complements a lot of what I was saying. So we're in the same page. So thank you. Thank you for those very deep words. I so very much appreciate it.
Entonces, now it's difficult, no? Because we need to deal with this concept of development. Now it's a little better because we are talking about indigenous people's sustainable self-determined development. This concept introduce some elements of the deeper and holistic conception that Elders Lorena share with us. But at the same time, we have this challenge not to talk about ODS agenda. Yes? And how we can deal with, for example, international cooperation, United Nations perspective of ODS. No, because I want in this section talk about how we can introduce in our projects these terms of ODS. Yes, because it's so, as Elders Lorena told us, is a foreign concept, is the international agenda proposal, but at the same time, we need to talk and to think how my project is related to this agenda, no? Because if I don't talk about, for example, the ODS of gender equality, I am not talking about the ODS of peace and democratic institutions, or I am not talking about climate change, perhaps I will be excluded from this agenda. And here I have these big questions, and which are my possibilities and challenges in terms of ODS as an Indigenous women researcher, yes, and which ODS are related to my project and research methodologies and question. Yes, I think it's very important to be critique about this agenda, but at the same time, we need to be strategic, no? Because if I want to access to an international grant, for example, the funds will be asking me what is your impact on terms of ODS, no? And in this sense, it's important to think about this issue. I don't know if somebody, or perhaps we can have a small discussion in small groups tonight. Do you think it's possible to have a small discussion for 10 minutes, for example, to ask these questions in small groups by regions?
Sí, claro, cierto, Otis, es posible.
Yes, of course. Right, Otis? We can do this?
We can do the discussion here, because today we are a small group. It's a possibility too.
Quizá es más enriquecedor en la plenaria.
Okay, yes, I agree with you, Lorena. But we need participants. We need volunteers to talk, because if we are talking here every time the same person, is not really a good practice. Yes, we need, for example, do you have the questions? My new computer is so new, but so difficult to deal with him. Ay, ay, ay. You can see the screen now? Yes?
Sí se
No?
ve, pero yo no
No.
veo las preguntas,
I
solo
can
veo.
see it, but I can't see the question. I just see something black.
O sea, dice, ha empezado a compartir
It
pantalla.
says you've started to share screen, but we can't see the presentation, but it doesn't
Eres
share
tú.
anything.
Ya, ahora sí.
Okay, now we can see it.
Mhm. Mhm. I am so sorry. I am so sorry. I can't.
¿Necesitas compartir la guía metodológica?
No, la presentación, pero no me la abre.
Yo puedo proyectar la presentación.
Gracias. Thank you, Dunet. Thank you. Thank you. I am so sorry.
Tranquila.
Well,
Tranquila.
we need some volunteers to ask the to answer the questions. Es en la, bájale otro poquito.
Si es esta, sí.
Sí, es esa, pero baja un poquito más. Ah, es esa. No, esa no es, perdóname, es la 3, la otra. La
Me
siguiente.
devuelvo. Aquí. Activity.
No, la 3. Activity number 3.
Okay. Mm,
Esa. Okay. Which are my possibilities and challenges in terms of ODS as Indigenous women researcher? And which ODS are related to my project and research methodologies and questions? Who wants to begin? For example, I can share with the group. In my research with Wiwa sisters, I am working with my team about sexual violence related to conflict armed in this region, and how the Wiwa women should access to the transitional justice system in Colombia. Yes, this is the in terms of ODS, for example, the ODS of gender equality is interesting for us, and the agenda of gender equality, but at the same time, the agenda of the ODS number, I think the number is 16, about peace and democratic institution is only interesting. Yes, this is a quick example that I want to share with the group. Who wants to do, for example, the relation in your projects? Do you remember the ODAs to begin? Or do you want to?
Teacher, can you remind us what is ODS?
Okay. Yes, we have. Do you have in the guide the ODAs and the explanation that we have? Number 1 is end of poverty. And number 2 is no hambre cero, or I don't know the translation in English specifically. Fighting to
Zero hunger, fighting to reduce hunger to zero.
Hambre cero. Not hungry in the world.
Reducing hunger to zero in the world.
Health and well-being. Number 4 is education, quality education. Number 5, gender equality. Number 6, water, the agenda of water. Number 7, energy, the agenda of energy. Number 8, work. Number 9, industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Number 10, reduction of inequalities. And number 11, cities and sustainable communities. Number 11, production and consummation responsible. Number 13, action or the agenda of climate change. 11, oceans and life in the oceans. Number 15, ecological agenda and sustainable ecosystems. Number 16, peace, justice, and democratic institutions. And number 6, and the final objective is networks, alliance, etc. Yes, we have more than 16 ODS. And now I want to ask you, what do you think about the relation between your projects and the ODS? Who wants to begin?
Can I begin?
Of course. Go on, Vivian.
So, let me read the question again. Possibilities and challenges in terms. So ODS are SDGs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
ODS are Sustainable Development Goals.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the challenges in terms of ODS as an Indigenous woman researcher is discrimination and violation of our rights as Indigenous women. So you'll find that our rights are not recognized. So to me, that is the main challenge. Yes.
Okay. And the relation with your project, can you share with the group a little about your project and how
So for me,
it's possible?
so I'll carry out a research on impacts of establishment of a cement industry in my community. So it will compromise the SDG on, I think, maybe I'll confirm and then get back to you, but it is about the clean, healthy, and sustainable natural environment because of the negative effects that the industry is posing to the environment.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Yes, this is important because if you want to, for example, elaborate a lobbying plan, no, to do activism, your possible allies and your target, for the actor maps is, for example, NGOs working with industry, Yes, this exercise is important to think which are my principal actors, no, to negotiate, to have access of grants, for example, etc. Okay, thank you. Daisy, do you want to continue? Oh, I don't know if it was Daisy and after Jessie. Daisy, go
Yes,
on.
can you hear me now?
Perfectly.
I'm sorry, I have to use my phone's audio because the laptop has issues. So my project my research is on education issues in my community, the Pokot Indigenous community in Kenya, whereby the number of girls in schools in Tipperary, where I come from, in 3 villages that I cited, is very minimal. Girls only get to like standard 3. So I wanted to know more about the challenges. And on the SDGs, I have realized that it's going to, in my research, I have 6 SDGs that are going to like relate with it. One is gender equality, end of poverty, quality education, water, reduction of inequalities, and climate change. This is because I come from an arid society. We live in an arid area, and it's a patriarchal society whereby gender equality is, I can say, 99 to 1. So that's one of the things that is going to be affected. Then poverty is really high. The rate of poverty is high and all that. Then the second question, I think it disappeared on the screen. I think that's all. I can see it again. I'm sorry.
Tunencita, se te saltó la... The other is about the relation with your project, but I think you answered the 2 questions. Thank you, Daisy. This is a good strategy, no? To use 6 or 5 ODS, because if you use more ODEs, you can have more allies, and you can, for example, negotiate with different grants, no? In different levels. It's a good strategy. Thank you. Jessie?
Yes.
Remember, we have the SDGs in the general chat for your reference as well. The project that I am referring to talks about Indigenous women strategies for the conservation of nature. And first of all, to say that we all have a critical eye based on this international relations is difficult, because to be able to have how these how our processes might clash with the vision of our people. Sometimes we establish a vision that is much more developmental or economical, and that sometimes generates a conflict when you broach this with Indigenous communities. But I think you're right when you say that to be able to access these grants, these international grants, to be able to have an incidence in our communities based on what we propose, a lot of these grants ask us for those SDGs that we are referring to, or to include them in that in our work, those SDGs from the 2030 agenda. And I think it's a little bit difficult to deal with these issues and link them together, look at them from a critical perspective, but also to take advantage of these spaces where we can relate with each other and collaborate with each other. And in terms of my project, I have identified 3 main SDGs, which is 6, clean water, 13, action for climate, 14, life on land. Another one, and I think it's transversal, and it's the alliances, because to be able to do anything in any project for any topic, it's important to generate alliances amongst community authorities and population, maybe educational institutions. They sometimes play a very important role, local governments. So it's those. Great, Jessie. Jessie brings the framework. It's not that we are going to believe that is it. that's the SDGs are it. We have, from a critical perspective, we get close, but as Jesse says, to access these resources and to be able to bring content to our own projects, I would say it's super strategic to add it in the project. It's not that we are selling our soul to the 2030 agenda, but it's the language that you need to use in your projects. Not in the heart, but in a strategic way. And internally, for example, in the SDG of what is it called? Of gender equality, which is the one that we have been using with the sisters from the Sierra. We give them internally the context that we want. You can use it and repurpose it and manage it. That would be the proposal. Thank you so much. Now we have Jenny Lee who's going to take the floor. Jenny Lee. Yes, I am here. Well, my case study is related to 3 objectives of the SDG. The first one is number 12, production and responsible consumption and production. 13, climate action, and 16, partnership and life on land was SDG 15. Because those are, my work is related to those practices that the Indigenous women did to protect Mother Earth. So all those practices are correlated to contribute in fighting climate change, but also for the protection of all these land ecosystems, but also related to the economy for life, how our economy was before and how it's doing today in regards to the management of residue and the management of residues in the territory. So in that way, it's related to SDG number 12, which is the responsible consumption and production, to be able to have a good cycle of use of residues, kind of give them another life, or have a good life cycle of residues, and it allows us to protect ecosystems and not have all this trash that we find nowadays when we talk about the pollution of our territory. Thank you, Jenny Ling. Naina?
Yes, thank you so much. And my research is about the economic condition of the indigenous women in our country, in our community, and in our community, indigenous people are a little backward economically. So I'm talking about this, and my research is related to more 3 or 4 SDGs goal. First one is no poverty, and second, zero hunger, and another one is reduce inequalities. Yeah, this is related to my topic.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Anania. I'm so glad to hear you, because you were dealing with the with the signal. Thank you. Thank you very much. Nai?
Thank you, teacher. My study will be based on the issues of land, the encroachment of the indigenous land, and the impact to the indigenous women. So I will reflect this with the 4 SDGs One of it is the gender equality, but also the life on land, which is the SDG number 14, and the SDG number 15, peace, justice, and strong institution. Because if we had strong institution and relate it on how it is in my country currently, and how it is, the issues of land has been and has brought a number of cases, especially to indigenous communities. I will relate it in that perspective to teach out how this is continued degrading the issues of indigenous community to be sidelined, and also their land continued being evicted and being encroached by other land users. But however, in that, I will try also to reflect on how our policies are in relation to these SDGs and some of the programs that we have been doing as a country, and how the indigenous community are still not recognized and being reflected in these policies or regulations that will respect their territories and also including them in different development agendas and opportunities.
Okay, thank you, Nai. Very interesting. And finally, we have Nukila. Nukila, where are you? Okay.
Thank you. My projects focus on indigenous women equal access to land. The case study is in Rempang Islands. Rempang indigenous women. It needs to be this right to land needs to be based on the principle of gender equality. So it will rely with the issues regarding poverty and poverty, zero hunger, number 2, and then SDGs 13, climate action, SDGs 14, life below water, and SDGs 15, life on land. While this is intersection also with others in SDGs indicators, but my challenge will be partnership, SDGs 17, because it will be challenge, because we need how to deal with the, for instance, other stakeholders like businesses, because I'm not only talking about the internal issues like patriarchal culture, issues of the violence in the family, domestic violence, ownership of the land, but also I would like to interlink it with the issue of the land grabbing, as well as land concession that makes the woman facing double discrimination, being marginalized, because of this land issues. While land, as I mentioned, is an identity, the blood, the heart of the women, particularly in my community in Rempang Island, Rempang Indigenous women. I think, thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. We have an incredible projects and in dialogue with the international agenda. No, it's exciting. It's exciting to have this incredible project. Well, Dunen, could you share the last slide, please?
Sí, claro.
Dunencita, qué pena. No me vuelve a
Claro
pasar.
que sí. Ay, lo siento, lo siento, me fui al inicio.
Well, now we have the activity for Moodle. Do you have in the Moodle, you have the forum number 1? I want to ask you perhaps to do your body painting exercise and to think now how we can use this methodology or other methodology that you want to propose. Is not obligatory to think about specifically body painting, but if you are inspired to explore more about this methodology, and perhaps I want to ask you to prepare a small reflection about the tensions, no, of this concept of self-determination concept of indigenous peoples in the case of indigenous women, no? Because we have a lot of literature and studies and production by indigenous women intellectuals and scholars that shows the tension, no? It's not only easy to talk, for example, of self-determination of indigenous peoples, and at the same time to think of how we can deal with the tension between self-determination and, for example, the access to justice for indigenous women, the access to land, the access, not the access. I think the big tension is the access. Okay, Nai, do you want to share with the group before the break? Because you have your hand up. No? Well,
Sorry, no.
no, it's okay. Okay. Thank you very much. The next hour we will working with the elder Lorena, and I will see you the next session. And I begging you to open your camera. I don't care if you are cooking, if you are taking a shower. It's okay. It's okay. If you are sleeping, it's okay for me. I am so happy to see you, Nai. You are so beautiful. Please open the camera. Best regards and thank you for this incredible session. And I think now we have some minutes to the break, Lorena, or if you want, you can begin and after, as you want, okay?
Yo, bueno, pues como el tema es un poco amplio, lo que tenemos que concluir.
The topic that we're going to be talking about is very broad. I'll ask you for your apologies. If let's take 5 minutes of recess and then come back and we can start, please. So let's take a 5-minute break and we can start over again. And let's keep the dynamic of the cameras open as well. So let's take 5 minutes, please, to stretch, have some water, have some coffee. And we'll begin in 5 minutes. Thank you. right, everybody, we are back. Hello, welcome back, everyone. It's good to be open camera, please, so that we can appreciate our faces and we can follow along, be connected with its energy from where we are. Let's continue with a very important part, has to do with what is to become a research, an indigenous research. What does it mean for us? What it means to be an indigenous researcher. So I'll share briefly the presentation to check out the objective of the topic that we're going to be looking in this hour that we have, that has to do with strengthening our commitment and personal collective action as researchers of original sounds of Abayala, Africa, and Asia, so that we can take with that joy, with responsibility, the recovery of our role, because this is our role. We're going to recover and build knowledge from the Sentai thinking and cosmic feeling of women of our original towns and territories. And here, as you can see in this drawing, how around the circle we have with flowers, candles, water, seeds. Here we have the symbols, the nawals that we see. We call them 20 nawals or 20 energies. And here is the heart, where we have the wind, the water. We don't see the blue candle, but that's the heart of the sky, and the green, which is the heart of the land. And here, what you see here is we call them petates, which are made out of palms, done by women and men. And here, what I'm saying you here is how around this circle, with their own circles, it could be food or whatever it is based on our. It can be in the field. It can be in open land on a hole. But we try to create that dialogue. How can we create that dialogue? Like you said, with Aquila, with the topic of the circle. The circle can be done for advisors, for counsel, which is what we're going to be doing right now. So I'm going to do the presentation here, and I'll ask you to please, let's apply right now in this space, and I'll ask you to have your open cameras. What we do in our town with CHAP, which means advisor, the council. And we're going to do this. We're going to apply this methodology, the council, from the Magi chain, because it can be done in other parts of the world. And the process is that we are here in a circle. We have an energy cycle here around fire, or around water, around fruits, depending on the topics that we're going to be discussing. Nukila is going to talk about land. So she could probably in the center, in a container, land, plants, fruits. Others are going to talk about water. Other about natural resources. So we can do that as well. So let's have a seat here in our council, in our circle, all around this energy. Let's put our imaginary friends here. So let's put our hands together, please. And we're going to thank for this moment of a chat, of this moment of counsel. Each one of us, from our own Sentai thinking, feeling thinking, we're going to give an advice in this circle. If it's in the afternoon, if it's at night, just an advice. As a researcher, indigenous researcher, what what advice I want to tell my peers here and my sisters. And here we're gonna It could be a flower, just find an element. I have something made out of mud. So it's made out of, just find an element for you. It could be a plant, let's find a flower, water, whatever it can be. So what you can do is here, around our circle, and we're gonna do an advice. From Asia and Africa. And the console doesn't have to be a big phrase. It can be a simple phrase. What advice am I giving my peers so that they can be indigenous researcher and the territory of that and where we're going? And when we do the advice, we're going to do this. Here, I'm going to deliver this. And I'll tell you who's going to start this. We're going to start in the order that I see on the screen. So Nukila, you're going to be first, then Dunen. And just the order, because I already lost it already. Nukila, Dunen, Jenny Ling, Daisy, Naina, Nai, Jesse, Liz, Dom, Mine, Samai, Daisy.
Ese orden vamos. Daisy, creo, sí. Entonces vamos, yo creo que ya no está Vivian, ya no está. Bueno, quienes estén. Y vamos a empezar. Ah, sí, Vivian está.
So we start. Vivian is there, sorry. Because, so you're going to be the first one. So we're going to start with your console. Vivian, you're going to be the first one. So I'll be an example. For example, right now, I want to thank the heart of the land, the sky, the land and the sky, the water and the winds, and the energy of each one of you. That today, as indigenous researchers, we're getting together in this energetic cycle to give advice, to give you that word of how we can do this research as close as possible with indigenous women as indigenous researchers. What advice do you give our peers, to our sisters from Africa, from Abjala, Asia? They're going out to the field today in those territories. What advice will I give them? So here, I have 20 balls here. And these energies of the 20 balls that I have, these are people, a whole person. My advice for each one of you is, let your creativity flow. When you be close, and they will be the ones weaving the wisdom of the cosmos feeling and the experiences that we see in the communities and the people who are going to see. We're going to be delivering. I'm going to give you this bracelet so that you remember these 20 moments, these 20 energies. Thank you. Let's continue. Vivian, you're first, and then Nukila.
Hello. So my advice to my colleagues is to go to the field and connect with indigenous women, be patient with them, use intercultural methodologies which are friendly to the indigenous women, and enjoy your work, and all the best. Thank you.
For my Indigenous women friends, when you come to the Indigenous community, keep on calm, tone down your voice, respect them. You follow their needs. You hurt your heart. You flow like a river, and then moving like a wind, then sounds like a running like a rainy season, and then keep on listening to them first, and then uh, you know come with your heart, come with your heart, and then be confident with yourself, approach them with respect, with their culture, and then always listening. I always said listening is the good things to approach, and then always believe in yourself. Thank you.
Hello.
Sí.
Hello.
Ah,
Can you hear me? Yeah. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Dom, we can listen to you. Yes. It's your turn, Dom. Go ahead. Go ahead, Dom. You can speak. Dom, we can listen to you. Go ahead and speak.
Yeah. Can you? Ash, my signal is so weak. It's choppy. So, yeah. I like to use my flute. Can I do that? It's very short. Yeah. I like. Uh, I think it's very important to the connect with the breath. That's from inside. Connect with the spirit. If I'm using the flute as a symbol of the spirit, because our communities as researchers, we come in, there's very wide gap. Yeah. We have to break that, break, or to cross the barrier. As researchers, we are perceived as academic, no, very intellectual. So we really have to be very creative and use our cultural symbols to connect faster. Also, I have the doll also, doll here, there. I think it's important also to remember that we're talking about the earth, very grounded. We're talking about our bodies. It's very difficult, but our bodies as women and our strong connection with the earth. Because sometimes in research, they think it's only the mind. Yeah. So it's important to use very concrete examples and really move the body and touch the ground if we can do that. And then the individual, we talk of the individual woman, but at the same time, the collective women. So I hope to do that also, and I hope we can all do that. Thank you.
Bueno, yo les quiero compartir.
I want to share with you this bag. I can't say it because of my screen, but I have a small bag here in which I put away my teachings that I've gotten right, from the wise people of the elders of my town, and for all the processes of research I do, or that we can listen to, the listening part. It's if you put your heart there, you put your body, we can be able to recognize those knowledges of the towns of women and that sensitivity to be able to write from that part. Thank you. I have shown you this back as like an advice for my sisters from Latin America, Asia, and Africa to be able to come into the territories. My advice is that you can listen from their heart, but also that when we're speaking, we leave the open the word. Let's like we say here, women, indigenous women have their heart from their stomachs, from their thinking, and then let's speak from those three parts and let the words be in harmony, be felt in harmony. Nai? Oh, perdón. This and then nights. I am right now in the field. I am on the rock, around rocks, around my land. I have flowers, many flowers around me. And one that represents me and that I really like is Kiswara. I'll present this to you. It's a tree that you can find in the valleys. And it's the only one that resists a lot of wind. So for like above sea level. This tree calls for the rain. This fertilizes the land. And with the flowers that it has, it brings the peace. And it's very valuable for me. And because it's the one that I'm going to start my project with. From my community, we suffer a lot from droughts. And now we are starting what variety we have in trees and reforestation and start the reforestation process so we can have more rain. And with that, I want to say that we have to be reciprocal and be responsible with these projects, and that we are there, the whole body and spirit in this project.
Okay, thank you. I'll be using my phone's audio, so it's two devices. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can listen to you. Go ahead.
I'm showing you this bead. It's from my indigenous community. And my advice to my indigenous sisters is when we go out to the field, let's try and fit into the community. Let's try and behave like they do. Like we can't go to the community, we want to research something and we dress like we want to dress like in the university. My advice is if we can fit in the community, if we can do this, like we can put them on, and we can also we connect to the energy of light, whereby we act as the light to the community. We are researching on the issues that are affecting us as a community. So let's be respectful. Let's give them time. Let's listen to them and fit into them more. Thank you.
Thank you, Daisy.
Nina?
Naina?
Yes, I want to show this necklace which is given my friends from USA. Yeah, And my advice to the indigenous researcher is we need to respect the indigenous knowledge and indigenous people from our heart, and we need to connect with them, and we need to engage with that people. Now we need to respect them, we need to listen to them. Yeah, and we need to touch with them with the heart. Thank you.
Naile.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. First of all, I just want to remind my fellow sisters here to know that this is one of the fantastic opportunities that you have got as Indigenous women, and we represent a number of young ladies and women from our communities that have something to be represented in the large number, and many people to understand our stand as Indigenous people. So whenever we go to the field, let's first of all be part of that community. Let's not choose what we have got from the outside world to de-align us out of that community. But let's get together. As my fellow have said, let's respect each other. Let's always understand that listening is one of the way that we can acquire a number of knowledge that we can't get somewhere else. But also let's remember to observe. Many of the indigenous knowledge, indigenous livelihood system, also through observation, listening, and even learning to live that mode of livelihood will make us learn a number of issues that we can learn nowhere except from that community. I love to show everyone this one. I usually love to wear. It's one of the bracelets that I made I myself, from which I learned from one of the indigenous women who taught me, but she's a South African, that's why it's the South African flag. So that's my little that I can share with my fellow sisters here.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Thank you. I have this painting, which is a scene of women, indigenous women that are carrying water from the river, and it's a clay picture or painting from my community, and it's what I wanted to share, that women have a lot of strength, and that with that we can go with the communities to do that research, because in that road we have a lot of obstacles and challenges, and we need to be strong, and we need to be strong for that. And we have to put a lot of sensibility and transparency with our communities and our peoples that are going to build this research. Thank you.
Gracias. Liz, por favor.
Liz, please.
Si no estuviera Liz, Naina, creo. Naina nos correspondería. Liz, por favor.
Creo que ya había tomado la palabra.
Liz, oh, I already had spoken. Naina?
Y si no, pasaríamos a Samay.
And if not, we would move on to Samay.
Yes.
Go ahead, Samay. Naina already presented, correct? I think Samay is the only person that's missing, yes. Okay, so maybe Samay has an inconvenience with her camera. Let's open our hands to receive, to sow, to reap all these beautiful advice that we got. Thank you to each one of you with your element in your hand, you take it to your belly button, because that's where what we're being told flourishes. That's where the advice is coming into. We take it to the heart because that's where it's going to become alive. And then we take it to our head because that's where it's going to be processed in ideas, proposals, and actions. And we hug each of the advice received. Thank you once, twice, 3 and 4 times. Okay, and with these advice, we realize that being Indigenous researchers breaks with the different ideas that we've learned in the academy, but we can complement it with other knowledges that we have received. But the most important thing is to wake up that strength, that energy, and that knowledge that we have inside of us, and wake up that strength and that energy that we have in the communities. So we're going to speak very briefly based on what you said. I love it when you said that you're here to listen, to get there, to that you go to observe, to work with the dynamic of the community, with their clothing. We're not more, we're not less. So in this part, we would like to see what would be, I moved forward a little bit. Our first point that we have to see, I'm going to be brief because we know that the time we have is short. The first thing we have to look into is the ethic of the researchers. Part of our ethics is to request permission based on that consent. Recognize that the authorship of what we're going to work is not mine. The research is going to be collective, and that's why it's important to involve the community. Establish that relationship of reciprocity with the community, meaning to give, to receive, to ask, and to thank the elders and the generations. If there are local researchers, how do we include them? And to talk about exchange. We are all going to exchange and to share cosmo feelings and feeling thinkings and experiences and knowledge. Another way is to respect the ways of developing knowledge. What is our role to develop that wisdom and that feeling thinking and give it a voice, not to be the voice of women, not to be the voice of the grandmothers. Allow that their own feeling and their own voice and their own words and their own proposals are heard as women, as families, as peoples, as communities. And another element is to commit to visualize and respect these knowledge. Not impose mine, but how can I, from my research, my study, in my document of construction of that knowledge, do I present these feeling thinking and these my own aspirations and these strengths, my concerns, but also the strategies of resilience that are being built, and to facilitate the collective reflection. That's important. It's not just to extract. In this exercise that we just did of the Bishop, we had a reflection. We have that relationship based on what we think, what we feel, what we see with an element. We couldn't even feel the Bishop, and it took us about half an hour, sorry. And how this exercise can help us to recover proposals. When we finish socializing a subject, we do a focal group, we can apply different techniques, and we can close with a Bishop to build proposals. I'm not saying, okay, what do you propose based on this? No. Before the subject, what advice can we provide to face this reality? And there we facilitate or we encourage collective and constructive criticism, but also the proposal. And it comes with this other element that the researcher, as part of their work, they don't only stay with the problem. In the research process, she must identify strength, resilience, but also that all the proposals emerge from the community and the territory of women. And for that, I suggest as a suggestion, to apply the council, the circle of council, the bishop. They also commit actively, and it involves women. That is something that corresponds, that is important for us. It's not our process. In this picture, for example, we're one more, we're one more of the collective. We're facilitators. Each one of us expresses they're involved, and they involve the community, and we have to present evidence of the work, not just testimonies, some ideas, no. And to summarize in a reflective and critical and propository way what we found in the research process. And our other role is to wake up and to strengthen this cosmo knowledge. We're going to accompany that community to awaken what seems like it's asleep, it has not been valued, and with this research to strengthen it. We also need to be co-responsible of making visible the different stories, meaning not just us, but also that the community itself denounces and makes the problems of oppression or violence or whatever problem that we want to research, that they make it visible. And those historical proposals that they've had before that, or in regards to that problem, from their voice, from their feeling, thinking, from their codes, from their original language. And we have to make visible and denounce everything that makes that works against the rights, or violates their rights. Because if we identify that there are facts that are hurting and are violating the rights of the communities, we're going to make them public with the consent of the community, because that is important. Not to present ourselves as victims, or the women or the communities as victims. No, we have to make public these facts that make women and peoples vulnerable. We also have to promote respect and relationships of respect, and relationship and situations of empowerment and safety, where people feel that they are respected. And we need to be the ones who encourage that and give somebody space, a wise woman, a wise man, a young person that has leadership, and they can weave. That's important, so that our research process promotes creativity. That creativity surges, and the group and the women that we're with can lead us to make collective decisions, not staying with the problem, the drama as a victim. Decisions, actions, and strategies. What condition? All the pictures have an intent. In this group, what commitments were being taken on, and each person was saying what they were committing to, and they all would lift their flowers and said, that's how it is, that's how it will be, and that is done. Meaning that has been already done. Mineras are not going to continue coming here to destroy. And they would say, we are going to create internal rules so that the mining companies don't continue destroying our land. They would raise their flowers and say, that's how so it will be. Around an energy center that had candles. So that's an example. What important conditions do we have to generate if in that group or community or that territory they speak their originary language? It's important that we communicate in their original language, or that we have somebody who translates for us, but that all communication, if possible, is in that language, that we apply the codes of the peoples. What of their own codes do they have? What norms do they have? Spaces, schedules where women and men are located, we're going to respect that. We're going to respect their ways of doing things. And always the consultation of the community. That is a permanent process that is transversal. We will always consult before we do any actions. And of course, previous to research as well. And that the research subject is of interest of women and the community and the people. That there's a collective political participation, meaning that these people, women, youth, children, men, they don't feel that they are subjects of analysis or objects of research. We're going to make them feel, because that's the case, that they are political actors, that they're going to participate politically, because research is a political action, because they're going to do a cause analysis. They're going to see their strengths. They're going to express how their wisdom was happening. That's an emancipation policy work, because people from their voice, they see themselves from the inside, but not as a victim, but as a survivor of processes. And we recognize and visibilize different feelings. I can't say it's my way of thinking. I am taking on the idea of Maria, or Susana, or child Julia, and I suggest, and I weave, and this is what happened. It implements research processes that are processes for decolonization. Our research from the beginning must evidence decolonization, that we are breaking and destroying everything that has oppressed us. So they need to feel part of project of the research. This is not something that belongs to the researcher or FIMI. They must destroy and feel that this is a space of emancipation. And also that you promote processes from the community, from the territory, with women, with children, with the defenders of the territory, alongside them, not on top of them or giving them orders, close to them. We are here for, and we are here for them, meaning me as a researcher, I'm only a weaver of knowledge that will weave the knowledge, and with my own wisdom will build collectively the different proposals. Another element that says, well, what is being an Indigenous researcher? Well, feel that you are one. It's just that I don't feel academic or intellectual or the person who knows everything. No, I come here to be a part of that. I will respect this elderly hand. I'm going to understand why they put apples. I'm saying, take them out. No, I'm going to respect that dynamic, that way of being. And it is fundamental that when we define ourselves as Indigenous researchers, first, that we understand that peoples don't talk about development, that focus of economic growth and development and progress and predatory positions. No, they talk about the network of life, the taking care of life of all of us, not just of the life of people, but the life of everyone. Cosmo knowledge of generations, and that we look to apply methods and techniques. First, we have that philosophy. That's what makes us different. Secondly, that we will apply the knowledge of methods and techniques of research that are decolonizing, healing, freeing, for the expression. And when we say this process of authoritarianism and to mercantilize the community, it doesn't go with me. And I will weave knowledge from them to strengthen them. We rebel as Indigenous researchers, we rebel to be objects of research, to see in the community units of analysis. We reclaim and we assume that we are subjects of research. No more analysis. I'm not an object. I'm an indigenous researcher that is part of that weave. And I recognize in that knowledge, in those peoples and those territories, other wise women, other wise men that are subject, that are political subjects. Part of being an indigenous community is to denounce in our studies and rebel against epistemicide. No more destruction of knowledge, no more destruction of our communities. Our role is to recover, to make visible, rebuild, and move forward and promote this knowledge. We recover the rights of indigenous communities, and we recognize collective rights, assuming that it's fundamental that we demand previous consent and informed consent. We're not going to allow that our territories are depleted. We are going to demand the respect of people and women, and we constitute ourselves as subjects that deserve rights. We are women who weave knowledge, and we assume the defense, and we take on the defense of rights, and we identify the wisdom, the ancestral wisdom. Not just asking, but observing, contemplating, listening with our ears of the soul and the eyes of the soul and the knowledge of water. That we systematize and we analyze knowledge, but not from that colonized perspective, but from the perspective of emancipation, from knowledge and cosmovision of our people. And we arrive with a spirit of learning. I'm here to learn. And that learning is mutual and collective. And we're willing to be surprised on what we see. Not as if we're strangers or foreigners. No, we have to reimagine and be surprised again on what we see, to recover that sense of awe and that critical and propositive, or we need to be critical of that collective strength, and we have to make those strengths visible. And we take on the challenge of carrying out research with purpose as an objective, with an intentionality to accumulate experiences. So no, we don't improvise, we planify, we plan. And what principles guide us? Honesty and transparency, consultation and advice, listening, contemplating, being humble. I don't know everything. Maybe the research is going to form me, because I will go find again my cosmovision and my identity. Responsibility of doing a job well done. Trust in myself, but trusting that everything is going to move forward properly. Commitment and credibility of creating collective processes of change. And there we leave the doors open. Who do we recommend? We recommend Jenny Lee. We recommend Nai, because she came in and she's one of us. We want her to come back and to do this other research process, or we're going to build a policy and we need to do a research, to be called, to have them call you because you were recognized, you were credible, because you left a work, a project that is worth reclaiming. And what would be the characteristics? And I think here I'm going to be short because of time, to know and appreciate the role of indigenous wisdom that we value the knowledge of children, of young people, of grandparents. There's wisdom there. Recognize that common sense and the community of the peoples are important. Another characteristic is that we are non-conformist. We are critical, but not destroying. We are critical and proposal, and we propose knowledge. Something that's going to characterize us. It's going to accept colonized methods. We can't say, oh, help me, please. Oh, go to the field. No, wait. We are researchers. We are going to decolonize, and we are critical of ourselves, critical of that patriarchal culture that is mercantile and racist. Another characteristic is that we are committed politically. Why? Because we are going to do these processes not only because of the study, but also because it's going to be able to broaden my research, and it's going to allow us to be committed to good life, to the rights of peoples and women, and to territories. Another element is that our feeling, thinking, and cosmo feeling as researchers are going to be based on who we are, on our exercise and our visions. We must integrate how our knowledge of sustainable objectives, and we know that they're sustainable from a mercantile proposal or mentality, but we also have to adjust it from a good living, from the cosmovision of peoples. We are not the ones who are impoverished, who are savage. We are subjects of rights, and we're part of Mother Earth, and we have rights. Another characteristic of ours needs to be that we are empowered of our own stories. I can't talk about the Mayan people or the Quiche people or the originary peoples of Ayayala if I don't know these stories. I have to know them. Well, I read all the books with a white focus. I'm going to read from the knowledge of indigenous communities, of our stories. Our originary peoples were submitted, and how the community and the originary peoples before colonization were not subject to, they didn't bend to what they wanted. We have to recover our lineage and our cosmovision and our identity. Otherwise, how are we going to help? I can go with the Mayan clothing, but I don't know what it means. I don't know what it is. So a characteristic is that we are empowered. We are in love. We are full of our identities and our cosmovisions. And with that strength and humility, we go with that territory. That we walk and we provide deconstructive processes. All our research needs to be looking towards deconstructing oppression and committed with the network of life. That's another element and characteristic of the indigenous researcher. It's committed to the network of life and the rights and the generations and the earth, meaning that all the process of research needs to go with this. This is about respecting and recognizing life. The space that I'm generating as a researcher needs to provide and help to recover the strength of the peoples, or is it violating the people? And our cosmo feelings and our cosmo thinking and our cosmo knowledge needs to be intersectionality. We're not going to see women, territory, and knowledge in one limited space. We have to recognize that all that knowledge and all that strength and all that history is marked by situations of oppression, class, discrimination, and racism, because of the reality of women, of girls, of the generations, because of the socioeconomic and political context. That intersectional perspective, we need to have it. We need to have a multidimensional perspective. I was saying last week, from the Kagwa, looking forward, looking back, looking to the sides. It has a a very broad perspective. I can't understand their story just as a woman. She is Maya Chorti. She is a single mother. She is a worker at somebody's home. She's an adult woman and has been criminalized to defend because of defending rights. That's what I want to do. We have to see her in all her dimensions. Another characteristic is the commitment and the interest of being a researcher and a collective, a part of the collective community, and have them say, we can also do a research. We can do research from our own cosmovisions and our knowledge and our histories, and committed with recreating methodologies to doing consultations, observing, participating, and making participants of the community. Here, a group of young people are talking. Well, let's go sit here and work with a permanent and respectful abilities to listen, to adjust to the times of the families, respect to the experiences of people in the community, sensitive to their realities and the way that they women are doing things and peoples are doing things, and be knowledgeable of the context. We can't get to a territory without being informed of the context and their reality and what their story is. Finally, what do we bring to the table as researchers? We conceptualize from our own cosmovision. We, in their own languages, that's very important. Our research needs to visibilize the cosmovision of that territory, to create concepts, not copy-pasting from their languages and from what we're going to find, what we're going to learn and build, and to conceptualize from a historical perspective, not romantic, historical, structural, political, and decolonized of the peoples, and take as a source of knowledge, as the heart of the knowledge, the cosmo knowledge, the ancestral cosmo knowledge, the story, and the current cosmo knowledge, and theorize from the feeling, thinking, and the ancestral knowledge. It politicizes spirituality as a source of resistance and resilience. Not just to use spirituality has been their strength, has been their way of sustaining their rebellion, their resilience, their capability of proposal. I leave here because I think you have it, but it's important to understand that we promote dialogue amongst generations and peoples, and that we constitute ourselves as activists to decolonize. Here there is a mural with photographies and facts where they represented, this is how the strength of women is. And another one, they did a mural of how oppression looks like against women and what took them to this emancipation process with drawing, dance, and energetic exercises. And we also look for the rebuilding of the peoples. And I thank you, your time and your information, and let's continue with all the joy to continue being researchers. I would like to take advantage of the last minutes to say that the closing event was today. You needed to present today your research protocol, but considering time and with the FIMI team, we said we're going to give them another week. That's why Angela forward. Next Friday, we have the presentation. There's going to be a seminar. We're going to have 2 expert guests who are going to discuss and listen and hear various proposals, and I will continue presenting very quickly. You have your basic case study guide here. Can you see it? Yes? Okay. It says the amount of the type of font, the size, what you're going, all the different parts of the case study. You're going to add your introduction, your justification, your context, your background, your objectives, your delimitation of space and time, where, when. We're not referring here of I'm going to do it in 3 months. No, we mean like your case study, where is it? What's from what year to what year is your research going to cover? So what years are you going to research based on your topic? You're going to define the period of time in which that you're going to investigate or that you're going to research. For example, environmental impact, how did they used to live before? Yes, it was this reality. For example, years 70, 80, then the agricultural that has been invasive and pollution from the 80s to the 2000s, the impacts from 2000 to 2020. So that's what I mean by the when. Who we're going to consult, who's going to be the heart of the research, or you're going to design that as well. The guides that we have given you, that's why it's important for you to work exercises 1 and 2 and exercises 3. Having those 3 exercises, you fill that. That's the last thing that we do. We fill that format. Methodology, what's going to be our focus? The phases or stages of the methodology, what techniques we're going to apply, and what are going to be the documents that we're going to use. People are not sources, they're the heart. Here I'm talking about document sources, as long as they are coherent to the focus of our study. That's the schedule, and then we have the explanation, and here we have the format that we're going to use, the guide. No, we can't see it. Hold on. Here's a guide to present our study. What are we going to prepare for next Friday? Our integrated document, can you see it? And in the workshop, in the meeting of next Friday, we're going to present this in this format. The name of the researcher and the name of the topic. We're going to say, who is this topic important for and why is it important? The main question of your research, the questions that are derived, or the main question and the auxiliary questions, your main objective. If we had an initial chapter, we present it after the objectives, and what people are constitute as the heart or the reason of being of the research, not objects or units of research. The heart or the people that are key are going to be a part of the research, who we're going to ask, and what territory we're going to carry out the research, and what methodology we're going to carry out, the focus of the methodology, and the stages of the process. And that is what our presentation is going to be built of. But to fill that presentation, we need to have our case study, filled our protocol for our case study. To fill that, we have to complete exercise 1 and 2, and exercise and the methodology homework that we're going to adjust it based on what the tutoring is. And the tutorings with Angela and myself, depending on your region. So that's the information for next week, please. Friday of next week, we need to have that ready. Since it's a seminar, we present with as rich as we can with our clothing and everything. Make sure we feel empowered and we feel certain of what we're presenting. And in the seminar, we're going to invite two experts that are going to give us some feedback and provide some suggestions. And maybe a person of one of our sisters that has participated in the different research processes could also participate, because I feel like this is a collective learning process. So I encourage you to prepare for Friday. On Tuesday, we have a session with Angela, and then we have our closing ceremony for Module 3 of presenting our protocol. We're going to attach this guide. The protocol is already on Moodle. It's in Spanish and English, it's translated in Spanish and English. And this guide, we don't have it, but we're going to add it onto Moodle in both languages as well. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. But I wanted to finish this last part. We're over 2 minutes, but we can write in the chats if we have any questions, and we can solve these questions because of time. Also, any doubts that you might have, you can socialize to Angela. The sisters in Africa and Asia can talk to them with Angela, and the sisters from Latin America can talk to me about their questions. To me, it's been a wonderful experience to serve you in Module 3. We're still gonna see each other. If I can help the sisters from Africa and Asia, we can try to communicate as well, and we would I would very gladly help you. Those of you who have to go to sleep, please rest. Those of you who are in the morning, have a good day, and those who are in the afternoon, continue with your day and a good day, and have a great weekend and a good that is filled with joy and blessings. Thank you so much. Good luck. Bye. Hug.